Well, we're making Scrag-End soup here today, ham bone soup. And it's sort of like what you would do if you looked in your crisper drawer and you had rubbery vegetables and they're still good, but you don't want to throw them away. So what are you going to do? You're going to make soup. Well, the colonial people, of course, gathered from the garden all summer and all fall long and stored potatoes, carrots, rutabagas, whatever root crops they had in the root cellar, packed them in straw, and of course tried to keep the mice out of them. But after the winter was over, a lot of those vegetables got rubbery, but they were still good. So they're good for soup. So they would take a ham bone that maybe they had already cooked most of the ham off, put it in water, got some bits and pieces of meat off of it, and then threw in some dried beans and these rubbery vegetables, and it's like a spring soup, okay? Or Scrag-End soup. It's what the colonial people call it, the recipe that we're using it. And they've gone without fresh greens all winter for the most part, except maybe for cabbages that they had wintered over. So they would go out here and find dandelions. And everywhere you see the little yellow dandelions popping up, there's dandelion greens under that. So they would pick the dandelions and chop them up, put them in the soup.
Well,
Tastes pretty good, doesn't it?
It tastes, let me see, I haven't actually tasted it yet.
Okay.
This is going to be my first taste. Let me actually get some here.
And they put you cut up some spring onions for it too. So.
It's pretty good. I would eat this as a regular meal.
Good,
So,
good.
Very good.
All you need is a little pull off of a end of a bread, a crust of bread, and you got a meal. So.
Perfect.
And you can keep adding to it, you know, leftovers the next day, whatever. So, and you did good.
Thank you.
You made it. How about that?
I made it.
Way to go.
Well, I was going to get you to tell me about the fire. We were talking earlier about, you know, obviously they couldn't just go and turn on their oven like we...
No, not the way we do, and they didn't have a microwave. So, you know, you notice that the fireplace is really the key component of the big kitchen, and it was of a colonial kitchen. Usually a big fireplace if it were a big cabin. Of course, this house is bigger than what most people lived in the 18th century here in Rowan County. And it's almost like a walk-in fireplace. But the lady of the house could keep one big pot going, you know, a stew or a soup. And then she had ways to put spits in up close to the fire to roast a chicken or a squirrel or a rabbit or maybe a big haunch of venison.
Okay.
She could have small pots of beans and things going. Most of their cookware had legs on it so that you could sit it in ashes, okay? You either hung it over the fire or set it in the fire up on little feet so you could pull the fire under it, okay? If you didn't want a big roaring fire but just some hot ashes, you know. And they were always building the little side fires like you did today on the grate to cook your stew.